Choosing the best gaming mouse for yourself can be pretty hard these days, but should you consider a mouse designed for esports if you're just the average casual or hardcore gamer? Like Zowie's EC-CW, a minimalistic but high-performing wireless esport gaming mouse that comes in 3 different sizes and has a special enhanced receiver claiming to be better than competing brands. So for a lot of you out there, the answer could be yes. And so in this video, I'm going to tell you why, show you everything this mouse has to offer and what it lacks, but most importantly, help you decide if this mouse is for you. Can Zowie win us over, or will they just be left with an owie? Let's find out. What's up everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Techtacula. Now, full disclosure, Zowie sent this mouse out for review along with one of their mouse pads. I do get to keep them, but no money exchanged hands, and they have no input on this video. All thoughts and opinions are purely my own. Now, since Zowie is a sub-brand of BenQ that focuses on esports, everything from their branding to their products are very minimal. You won't see any fancy names, no flashy designs, and no RGB. What you end up here with is a very focused product that only gives you what you need, since it's designed primarily for esports. So then what does an esport mouse costing 209 Australian dollars or 136 USD get you? A decent amount actually, but it doesn't get you software because this mouse, fully plug and play. You don't need to download anything to use or customize this mouse. Changing settings are handled with physical buttons underneath. Now, I can already hear so many of you cheering in the comments about this, but with this trade-off, it does mean customization can be extremely limited. You're forced to use the 4 pre-programmed DPI modes of 400, 800, 1600, and 3200. And while these DPI levels will be okay for some, at the very least, I would have preferred including 2 more DPI levels of maybe 200 and 600, just for more flexibility for the user's preference. But this drawback doesn't falter the mouse overall. Your preferred DPI will always change slightly depending on the mouse and the sensor. And speaking of that sensor, we have the Pixart 3370. While a little old, this sensor is still incredibly reliable and quite high performing too. Underneath, we also have adjustable polling rate up to 1000 Hz, and your power switch to choose between the 2 receivers or off in the middle. And that's the one you select if you want to use the mouse wired. Lift-off distance and click response times can be changed on this mouse as well through different button combinations outlined in a very simple and easy to read instruction booklet, which is greatly appreciated. We also have 100% Teflon mouse feet present here, which are really smooth and glide very, very well. No specific mouse switch is outlined in the specs, but I do know after some research that Zowie used Huano mouse switches. And these switches do feel very nice. They're quite tactile and responsive, yet a lower frequency to the click sound than other switches, making them not as noisy as other mice. Here's a sound test. They're also really great at clicking that like button, which is something you guys should absolutely do if you like these videos, and hit that subscribe button while you're down there too, if you want to see more. While the switches feel good, the scroll wheel sadly does not. The rubber on the scroll wheel feels a bit cheap and doesn't provide the best grip. While there is some tactility to the scroll clicks, it still feels very mushy and almost rattly in a sense. It's quite a noticeably loud scroll wheel too. Here's a sound test on that one. Overall, I'm pretty disappointed with the scroll wheel, and hopefully Zowie will make improvements with their scroll wheels in the future. In the box, you get a nice 2-meter long paracord USB-A to C cable, as the mouse does have USB-C. You also get a USB-C to A adapter, plus the 2 receivers. Now, while the design of this mouse is not going to blow anyone away, it keeps things minimal, which I can appreciate. Although I do get some Microsoft and Telemouse vibes from it, which hey, can be charming in its own way. But you aren't buying an esport mouse for its looks. It does have a matte black finish across the entire mouse, and while it is fully plastic in its construction, it does still have a premium feel. The only color present is the Zowie logo at the back of the mouse in its signature red, and a small red line underneath the left click, which acts both as a nice accent and the wireless antenna. Just like the wired version it's based upon, the ECC, the new Zowie EC-CW comes in 3 different sizes. And the naming conventions are hard to say in quick succession. But the 3 different sizes that it comes with is the EC1, the EC2, and the EC3, meaning that Zowie can accommodate almost all hand sizes out there. And they keep the weight extremely close between the sizes too, with only 3 grams of difference between the smallest and the largest size. The small size EC3 weighs in at 76 grams, the medium EC2, which is what I have here, 77 grams, and the large EC1 weighs in at 79 grams. And while the medium is going to be the size that fits most people out there, if you're unsure what size would be the right one for you, these are my hand measurements. For me, the medium is a perfect fit, so hopefully by comparing your hand measurements to mine, it should give you a nice starting point for choosing the right size for you. At 77 grams, the Zowie is respectively light, but of course, this may not be ideal for those that want the lightest mouse possible. And that doesn't make this mouse bad, just not for you. I would have personally liked to have seen Zowie get close to the 70 gram mark, but 77 still feels quite lightweight, very respectable, and it still does offer a lot of control. And that control comes from its shape. This mouse has a nice natural curve, which Zowie feels is the most ideal shape. And according to them, provides a lot more comfort at control for palm and claw grip users, which is the vast majority of gamers out there. I currently use the Asus ROG Harpace as my FPS mouse, and my natural grip on that mouse left a lot of my hand brushing against the mouse pad. But with the Zowie, my natural grip always grabbed the mouse perfectly with my pinky barely touching the mouse pad. It's quite a noticeable difference, and I found it incredibly comfortable to use both for gaming and for daily use. So how does their new enhanced receiver play into all this? By providing incredibly low latency and a rock-solid signal that is highly resistant to interference. The performance of this receiver is good enough to match the latency of a wired mouse, while still having an incredibly strong signal. And while not as important at home, this matters a lot in an esport environment where there are tons of wireless devices that could cause interference. And Zowie really believes this enhanced receiver is something special, which, if their marketing is to be believed, is so good you can use it while it sits on top of a wireless router, and that it took inspiration from how satellites work and communicate wirelessly back to Earth. While I don't think anyone would actually use it on top of a router, and we aren't gaming from space, we're just in regular old rooms, or for some of you, your parents' basement. I hear grass is pretty nice. But seriously, what Zowie is putting forward here does make a lot of sense. I have no official way to test latency, but a larger and stronger antenna in the receiver, having a direct line of sight to the antenna at the front of the mouse, realistically would have a positive effect on the signal strength and latency. And there is some truth to that fact that Zowie is a professional brand first, and if this wireless mouse wasn't good enough to be a viable option over their wired mice for high-level competitive play, then I don't think this product would have even gotten this far. So if it's good enough for that, it's more than good enough to block interference at home. Then you won't have anything else to blame your bad gaming skills on but yourself. But what I love most about this receiver though is that it doubles as a magnetic charging dock, which are pretty rare these days, and I wish we saw it more, to be honest. Wireless charging mousepad solutions are great, but you're then forced to use that specific mousepad, and I think a charging dock works best. It still gives you the convenience of easily keeping your mouse charged, but also giving you the freedom to use your preferred mousepad. And speaking of that mousepad, by the way, Zowie sent over their GSR large cloth mousepad, and to be honest, it's one of the best cloth mousepads I've used to date. Super smooth, very high quality, and it's earned a permanent spot on my desk. The strength of the magnet on their enhanced receiver is perfect too. It's strong enough to pull the mouse into place, but won't get stuck to the dock when lifting the mouse off. And because it's so easy to place it on the charging dock, it's easy keeping it charged, unlike always remembering to plug a cable in. I quickly built a habit of placing it on the dock simply whenever I stepped away from my desk, and not just before heading to bed. There are 3 white LEDs on the top of the mouse which act as the battery and charging indicators. The number of LEDs blinking while charging indicates how far the battery has charged, and once all 3 LEDs stay solid white, the mouse is fully charged. These LEDs are always off while in use until the mouse hits about 10% battery remaining, which is indicated by one of the LEDs blinking. And charging is pretty quick too. Whether you're charging via the dock or just directly via the cable into the mouse, it only takes about 2 hours to get from 0 to 100%, which is pretty impressive. But you won't have to put it on charge straight away. 10% battery can still get you through another couple of days of use, no problem. And yeah, I'm not joking. The battery life on this thing is nuts. To test Zowie's claim of 70 hours battery life, I charged the mouse when I received it and began using it daily for gaming and general use until it went completely flat. And using this mouse on average for about 6 to 12 hours a day, it lasted about 100 hours, which is insane. Super impressed with the battery life here, and with how easy it is to place the mouse on the charging dock whenever you step away from your desk or before you head to bed or anything like that, you'll never have to worry about using this mouse wired. Now it was time to put this mouse to the test. I booted up AimLab to start getting a feel for the mouse and seeing how quickly I could adapt to it. Turns out, pretty quickly. In the Grid Shot Ultimate Training mission, I was actually able to beat my previous high score within about 5 to 10 minutes. And that mission's only a minute long at a time. And that previous high score was set by the ROG Hardpace. So this surprised me a lot, but the more training I did, the more I could see how my aim and control was improving. So with results like this, I couldn't wait to take it for a spin in some games. So I booted up some Fortnite Zero build. I'm nowhere near the level of an esport professional, but as someone who uses different mice frequently, I really felt the difference. There is no smoothing or acceleration at all, and I felt more control and precise with my shots, and how I was able to track targets, which resulted in me winning a lot more firefights in Fortnite. I even noticed some improvements in Overwatch 2 as well. There will always be an adjustment period to a new mouse, but I found myself adjusting so quickly no matter what game I was playing. And it may not be the lightest out there or the flashiest, but this mouse was forged for one purpose and one purpose only: to give the best gaming experience possible. Overall, I had a very enjoyable experience with this mouse. It's an incredible package for 209 Australian dollars or 136 US dollars. It's perfectly fine as a daily use mouse, but perfect as a dedicated gaming mouse. If you like having the flexibility of software to customize settings, or you want more buttons on your mouse, or you just simply want something that looks a bit nicer, then it's not going to be for you. The two side buttons on the mice have become pretty standard these days, like the forward and back, and it may not be enough depending on your preference or the type of games you play, and that's completely okay. But again, this will be fine for most people. But I do wish there was a way to change the force save DPI settings just to give the user a bit more flexibility and choice. But I think the 4 that are here will be more than enough to cover most people. The scroll wheel was a big letdown for me, but is by no means a deal breaker. The mouse itself feels great to use with its comfortable shape and is still respectably light. If you play any form of competitive games, especially first-person shooters, then this pretty much sits at the top of my recommendations. Honestly, even if you don't play a lot of shooters or competitive games, the inclusion of the charging dock and not needing any software makes it a solid recommendation for any PC gamer, regardless of the games you play. And the battery life is incredible. Plus, having the option of 3 different sizes means you can be sure to have a mouse that feels really damn good to use. And based on the comments of my previous mouse reviews, having 3 different sizes will shortlist this mouse for a lot of you out there. So if this mouse fits your preference checklist, the value you're getting here at this price is pretty hard to beat. With all that said, hopefully I've given you all the info to figure out if this mouse is for you. And if you do have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, that wraps up this video, so please consider leaving a like if you enjoyed it and subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nick. This is Techtacula. You've been spectacular. See you next time.